What's the story, Morning Glory? What is the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight, Season 16, Episode 7, Jamaican Me Crazy. So, of course, we have to start off with Gina and Clint. So, Clint's comments about his preference is still a topic of discussion. I don't know why this is lasting 2 episodes. The way that I see it, she has her preference. He has his preference. What is wrong with that? Now, I think that the conversation that Gina should be having with Clint is what motivated him to say what he said at the time that he said it in front of the group. And it really did seem like he was just trying to get back at her for her remarks towards him because he was offended by her telling him that she wasn't attracted to him. Now, I think that when Clint and Gina had that initial conversation at the waterfall, when she told them that she's not naturally attracted to gingers, I think that there was more to that conversation than what we saw. I think that, in my personal opinion, I think that for her to say that, I don't think it just came out of the blue. I think that they were having a conversation about where they're at, how they feel about one another, what they thought about one another, because they have this thing where they want to be very transparent with one another. And so I think that, for the sake of transparency, she wanted to be upfront with him, I guess, to sort of explain if she wasn't acting as if she was physically attracted to him, she felt the need to explain to him why. Like if she didn't want to hold hands, or if she didn't want to be too touchy-feely, or if she didn't want to kiss and make out, she wanted to explain to him where she was coming from. And so I think that's why she talked about how she is not attracted to gingers. He was offended by that. Fine, because it stings when someone says, I'm just not attracted to someone with your features. It could be offensive. Fine. Now, him saying to her, even though it was in a group setting, him coming back and saying to her, well, I'm not, the women that I've normally dated have been slender and athletic. I think that there's nothing wrong with him saying that because he was telling his perspective and his experience. I think the problem is he said it in a group setting, and I think that he was motivated by retaliating. She made me feel bad, so I'm going to make her feel bad. So I think that Gina should be having the conversation that Gina should be having with him is what motivated you to say what you said when you said it in front of everybody else. Because when I told you how I felt, it was in private. When you told me how you felt, it was in a group setting. Because it seems like Clint was very clearly trying to hit a nerve with her, trying to get a reaction from her because he felt some type of way about what she said. So I felt like that the conversation should have been about what motivated him to say that when he said it. But then they're making it all about how he doesn't have the right to be attracted to a certain body type. He has every right to be attracted to a certain body type. He can be attracted to whatever the hell he wants to be attracted to. If he prefers slender, athletic women, fine. Now, Gina was offended because she's like, I'm slender and I'm athletic, so what's wrong with my body type? Slender and athletic is very subjective because when Clint was talking to Chris and Eris alone, and he was like, y'all, I need help, I need advice on how I can dig myself out of this hole that I'm in with Gina and about what I said. And Eris had said, well, to me, Gina is a small woman. She's a small woman. She's not a big woman, overweight, whatever. To Eris, she's small. To Clint, she's not that small. So slender and athletic is very subjective. So Gina should not be offended by that. That he said that he prefers slender and athletic. And because she's like, well, then if you prefer slender and athletic, then what the hell am I? You are whatever you are. So, and I don't see her as a big woman. I don't see her as plus size. I don't see her as overweight or anything like that. To me, she's average to small. She's small to average in my eyes because I know that the camera adds weight. So to me, I do see her as a small woman as well. But because it's not as small as what he's used to dating, she's taken offense like, oh, so he's calling me fat. If he's saying that he prefers that and he considers me to not be that, then so in essence, it must mean that I'm fat. No, in essence, it just means that in his mind, he has a different perspective or a different opinion on what he considers slender. Because if Eris sees Gina as small, then what does he see Jasmine as? Because Jasmine to me is smaller than Gina. Everything is subjective. So she's trying to argue about how he doesn't have the right to like what he like to, and he shouldn't express it because whatever he thinks is ideal, it's not the women there. So it hurt a lot all these women's feelings because he said he preferred this type of woman. So the assumption is the women that are there are not that type. So he's fat shaming them. I'm just like, y'all are like really putting 20 on 10 because y'all are not even addressing the point, which is the motivation behind of what he said, which was to hurt her feelings, to get back at her. Y'all aren't even addressing that. Y'all are just so focused on how he doesn't have the right to say he prefers slender, athletic women. Because that equates to y'all being morbidly obese. Like, I don't get it. And so, when he's talking to the guys, when he's talking to Chris and Eris specifically, they're trying to give him advice, so on and so forth. And Eris says, you didn't say anything wrong, but she interpreted it a certain way. And so, you just have to be apologetic because of how she interpreted it. And also, Eris had made a good point because he said something like, what did he say? He said that Gina must have issues with her, and I believe this, and people may not agree with me, but I do believe that Gina probably has body image issues. And so whenever Clint said what he said, it was triggering for her because she's not fully confident in herself. Because if she was confident in herself, then she would know that it's not about what he said. It's not about his preference. It's not about what he thinks of you. It's really about his motivation behind what he said, the pettiness of it all, the need to retaliate, the need to hurt her, and then to hurt her in a public forum like that. So if she was confident in who she was, it wouldn't matter to her that he preferred whatever the hell he preferred. Okay, yeah, so let's try to move on. Oh my God. Okay, so Clint tells Eris and Chris that, he's trying to, now my issue with Clint as well is he's trying to also be the victim in this. He's like, well, she called me some really disparaging things. She called me a ginger and so he's also trying to be, and we know, Clint, it's very obvious that I don't think you were hurt that she called you a ginger. You were hurt that she said she wasn't attracted to you. That whatever features you have, you could have been a ginger, you could have been brunette, blonde, whatever. The fact that she said, I'm not attracted to you, and then she points out the things about you that she's not attracted to, that's what hurt. And it's okay to be hurt by that. It's okay to be hurt by that, but you can't turn it into, well, she called me a ginger, and I find the term ginger very disparaging. Now, I've heard of, like redheads, people thinking that redheads are not that attractive or whatever, because I've heard of the term, they're treating me like a redheaded stepchild, and they're treating me bad. And so I've heard this, that people sometimes make this connection with having red hair, pale skin, freckles. They connect that or they associate that with not being very attractive or something. I have heard of that. So I get it that, he might have felt like, okay, there's this belief that people with red hair are not naturally attractive or something. I don't know. And so for her to point out your red hair, your pale skin, your ginger features, and there's this like, connection with these features being unattractive or something like that, I can see why he felt offended by that. Okay, fine. He has the right to feel that way. Fine. But then when she was addressing this to him, it was in private and it was directly related to whatever they were going through. And I don't think she did it to hurt him. I think that she was just trying to explain, maybe the reason why she's not affectionate with him, why she's not physically close to him. There was a reason why she would have said that. Now, she probably should have just said, I don't feel an attraction for you, and then left it at that and not pick apart everything about him that she didn't find attractive. Okay. They were both wrong. Now, I don't remember if she apologized to him. She says that he did apologize to her in private, and it seemed like she accepted his apology. But then when they get to the group dinner, he's forced to apologize again. But this time he has to apologize to the women because all of them took offense to what he said. I still don't know why they would care what Clint said. I still don't know why. The whole thing about he needs to read the room, and we're all curvy women, and for him, but why do y'all care that he doesn't? Okay, so let's say he doesn't like curvy women. Why do y'all care about that? If he said, you know what, I don't really date curvy women, I don't like curvy women, why does that matter? He doesn't like curvy women. Guess what? There's a lot of men who do. And you know what? Let's take it a step further. The men that y'all were matched with have no issues with your bodies. Why can't you concentrate on that instead of concentrating on, oh, what Clint said was so offensive and my feelings were hurt and he needs to read the room? Who cares what Clint said and what Clint likes? The man that you're sitting next to, that's whose opinion that you should worry about. Anyways, moving on. So he gets up at dinner, y'all, and he says whatever the hell he says, which it wasn't really an apology. It was just a justification. He was just trying to explain why he said what he said and where he was coming from. Who cares? Let's move on. So Nicole says that she saw Clint differently now. Now they've all put a target on him. He has a mark on his back. The other women are like, okay, we don't like Clint. And it's a lot like what was going on with Mitch last season. You know how everybody just came to this consensus because Mitch said he doesn't like women who wear makeup. All of a sudden, let's all hate Mitch. So it's always going to be that one guy that all the women are going to want to join forces against. Okay, so fine. Everybody hates Clint. Clint can't, get out of this. So what do y'all want him to do? Y'all want him to pack up his bags and go home? Like, what do y'all want? So Clint, okay, so then they do this rating thing at dinner where they have to rate where their relationship is. What do you give your relationship at this point in time of where we're at? So Mac and Dominique, they both rate wherever the status of their relationship is 7. Chris and Nicole, they both rated an 8.2, like exactly an 8.2. Chris said he rated an 8.2 and Nicole was like, oh my God, I was going to say 8.2. Kirsten and Shaq, they rate their relationship as 7. Gina rates it a 5, and Clint rates it a 5.5. They're both okay with that. Gina says that she's still hopeful and that she's still in it. I hope so, girl. And Eris and Jasmine, they rate the status of their relationship as 7. And when Eris said a 7, Chris and Nicole, in their little camera interview, they said that, somebody's lying because, Eris had told the guys that his attraction for Jasmine was 3 or 4 at best. But at the table, he says he rates their status of the relationship as 7. Let's move on. Let's get away from Clint and Gina and their craziness. Let's talk about Eris and Jasmine. So Jasmine brings up we're still at dinner last night in Jamaica. Eris brings up again. Jasmine brings up how Eris has never been in love. Brings up, like, girl. I understand it bothers her that he's never been in love because then she begins to wonder, is he capable of falling in love or is he a player for life? I get it. But I don't understand. You constantly bringing it up shows how absolutely bothered you are by this. And I don't see how it's helping anything. Like, I don't know what she's expecting by constantly bringing it up. Do you expect him to turn around and say, you bringing it up for the 50th time is making me realize that I am capable of falling in love. And I think I'm going to fall in love with you. What is the point of, the man tells you he's never been in love. Okay, leave it at that. And just be like, I could be the first woman that he falls in love with, or just take it for what it is and keep it moving. But you constantly like living in this negativity of he's never been in love. He will never fall. Oh, Lord have mercy. It is giving such Stasha and Nate vibes. I don't know what to do with myself. So when it came to the rating, like I said before, Jasmine rated their relationship a 7.5 and he rated it a 7. And so then Jasmine says, like, she didn't understand. I don't know who said it, but it was mentioned that, they gave their ratings were different. And I'm like, how are they different? They're both 7. She just added, half a point to hers. The other couples did not believe that where they're at was at a 7 because I guess the other couples can see that there's some type of struggle, but they're struggling with something. Chris says in his confessional that he feels like Jasmine is ready to be a wife, but he's not so sure that Eris is ready to be a husband. I'm not so sure either. I'm not so sure that he's ready to be a husband because I think that Eris shows a lot of immaturity. He exhibits a lot of immature tendencies. And I've been saying this since day one because I'm beginning to doubt that this man is 39 years old. Era says in his confessional that our attraction levels are not on the same level, and he feels guilty about that. Not in his confessional, but when he was walking back from working out, he was talking. He was doing like a video diary, and he was talking about how guilty he feels that his attraction for her is not on the same level as her attraction for him. So when they're having breakfast, Eris says that he noticed her mood had changed significantly after they did the ratings at dinner the night before. And I think that's when they talked about how they gave different ratings, but I'm like, y'all both gave each other a 7. Eris believes that time is going to fix everything. He's like, whatever that I'm not feeling now, eventually, time is going to fix it. The more I get to know her, the more we're in this. He believes that, and he still has hope that things are going to take a turn for the better. All we need to do is just give it time. And he tells her that he feels more of a friendly vibe with her, but he says that that's a positive thing. This is where it's like it gets really tricky because you want your partner to be honest with you, right? You don't want them to lie to you. But then when you are honest, they take it the wrong way. And it's kind of like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said anything. But then when you don't say anything, they consider you very closed off and you don't talk about your feelings enough. So it's like, I don't know exactly. I don't think Jasmine should feel upset about him not feeling a certain way because it wasn't guaranteed that she was going to be matched with someone that was going to be head over heels in love with her from the get-go. That was never guaranteed. So what she should do is just, I think that she should probably hold back on how she feels about him and not I've always believed that in a relationship, a woman should never show all her cards because you don't know exactly where the man is, where your partner is. You don't know where they're at with their feelings because I think in a lot of situations when a woman is dating a man and they're in a relationship, a woman has certain expectations. I'm generalizing, not in every relationship, not in every single woman on earth. I'm just generalizing. For the most part, women have certain expectations. Like if they're dating someone, they kind of want to see it go further. They kind of want to see it get serious. Whereas the guys are always on the fence and we always have to kind of wait for them to figure things out. So I always feel like that a woman should never reveal too much of her feelings too early in the relationship, because number one, that could put a lot of pressure on him. Number two, you're going to end up looking, feeling foolish if he doesn't feel the same way. I think that if you're really feeling the guy, but you're not really sure if he's feeling you, you should not really reveal it until you know exactly where he's at. I know that probably sounds archaic and old fashioned and like I'm not with the times, but just my experience of living on earth, it always seems like when two people are in a relationship, okay, not just, friends with benefit type of thing, or just kind of casually seeing someone, because, you can have a guy that you're not really that serious with. He's just your fun time guy. Okay. That's one thing. But when you're seeing someone and you're seeing a potential in that someone, I always feel like don't reveal too much too soon. Kind of wait and see how things play out before you finally lay your heart out. And then maybe Jasmine laid her heart out a little bit too soon. And now she's waiting for him to catch up, but he may never catch up. So she should have just kind of, I'm not going to say be dishonest about how she felt, but be more cautious of what she revealed to him. So he tells her that he's getting more of a friend vibe. And of course, she doesn't like that because she says, I didn't come on Married at First Sight, for a friend, to look for a friend. So when they get back to Nashville, she finds out that Eris has never lived with a woman, and she's realizing, so they move in together, right? They get into the apartment, and he's very he's bossy. She says that he was bossy because he had a lot to say about he was going around the apartment looking at the closets and all the spaces that they had, and he was like, I'm making an executive decision about whether or not we wear shoes in the house. I'm making an executive decision about how much closet space we're going to share, how much bathroom space we're going to share, whether or not the dogs sleep in the bed. He was making all kinds of decisions, not even really conversating with her or discussing with her how things should go, because he says, I'm making an executive decision. Like, these things are non-negotiable. I'm laying down the law, and this is how it's going to be. And she was like, okay, husband. Okay, husband. No, ma'am, it's not okay. No, we're going to talk. We're going to have a conversation about things, because this is our shared space, and you're not making an executive decision about a damn thing. Okay, we're going to have a discussion. So they go to Eris's apartment, and she sees that he has a small gym in his apartment. And then she says in her confessional, she says, well, now I realize when we were in Jamaica and he was always working out, it was because he's really serious about fitness, and it wasn't because he was just trying to get away from me. And I was like, girl, you thought that when he went to go work out, he was just trying to run away from you? That's interesting. That's something that I wish we could have explored a little bit deeper. The reason why you felt like when your husband went to go work out, he was really trying to not spend any time with you, and he was trying to get away from you. Was she projecting, or do y'all think that Eris was really trying to get away from her? So when she sees the gym, she's like, yeah, he's really serious about fitness. And he even talked about how he cannot start his day right without working out in the morning. So Jasmine notices his father's obituary, and then we find out more about, he already had told us before that his father was murdered when he was really young. He was 11 years old. And we also find out that it was his father's funeral was a double funeral because his uncle had passed away 2 days before. And so they had to bury two family members. And I wonder if the father and the uncle were brothers, because I can only imagine what his grandmother went through to lose two sons so close together like that. So Eris and Jasmine is really up in the air. It's not going well at all. I don't have a lot of hope. I feel like if Eris is not feeling this attraction for her now, I don't think he's going to feel it any later. Because I think that I'm generalizing. Okay, this is just a generalization. Not every man on earth is like this, but I feel like if a man doesn't have that instant attraction for you, I don't think that attraction is ever going to come. I don't think it is. And also I've realized that Jasmine's whole demeanor has changed. It reminds me of Justin and Alexis. When Justin came back from the honeymoon, his whole demeanor had changed because of realizing during the honeymoon that Alexis was not on the same page as he was. And just like in this situation, Jasmine's realizing that Eris is not on the same page as she is emotionally. And so now her whole demeanor has changed. So this is going to be very interesting. Her demeanor has changed. Even in her confessional, she seems kind of like she's not happy. She's not happy. And something has changed. There's been a shift in their dynamic. So she kind of feels like, he just wants to be my friend, and he's never been in love, and he'll never be in love with me. And then he's like, I'm not really attracted to her like that. I see her more like a homie and not really like a wife. So yeah. But also we have to keep in mind, and this was brought up in the after party, that Eris is giving mixed messages because, he talked about, when they first got to Jamaica, he told everybody how he was hoping to consummate his marriage as soon as possible. And then he asked Eris over dinner what her favorite sexual position was. And Jasmine mentioned in the after party that on their wedding day, when she was walking down the aisle, he clapped because he was very pleased with how she looked. Now, I think when he clapped, he was just happy that she was an attractive woman. And I think that when he was, talking about sex and all of that, I think he was like, he doesn't have to be that attracted to her to want to sleep with her. So I don't know why she doesn't realize that. You know, a man doesn't have to be like head over heels in love with you just to want to sleep with you. You know, he could just find you mildly attractive or find a couple of redeeming qualities about you, and that's enough probably for some men to go to bed with you. Um and some men probably they don't have to feel an attraction at all, and they can still, you know, have sex with you. So that really, the fact that he wants to sleep with you, that he wants to have sex with you, wants to experience sex with you, I don't think is a good gauge of his feelings for you. Okay, I think that's like two different things. So just because he talked about sex on girl, that don't mean a damn thing. Okay, he could sleep with you today and then still say no on decision day. Okay, moving on to McKinley and Dominique. You know what, the more that I know McKinley, the more I'm struggling with McKinley. So here you have a country girl with a city boy. Okay, so Dominique wants him. They have a conversation. I think the morning that they leave Jamaica, they're having a conversation, and she's telling him that I want you to want to do the things that I like, and I want you to be enthusiastic about it, and I want you to be excited about it. Of course, you know, I'm paraphrasing and you know, exaggerating a bit. But it seems like like when she wants to do something, she wants him to be gung ho about it. And he tells her, but that's just not who I am. It's not my personality to, you know, to be excited about certain things. And he says that he feels like um, she makes him feel like that he has to go along with whatever she wants, and he has to be happy about it, or she's going to be very unhappy if he's not happy about doing the things that she wants to do. And so he feels like he can't be himself around her, and like there's no other option. It's either we do what Dominique wants, or Dominique is going to be mad at me, and like there's no other option, there's no discussion. And she does seem kind of controlling like that. Now, when you're on vacation, I understand that you're there for a very limited time and you want to experience certain things, and you do want the person that you're there with to want to do the things with you, you know, go on these excursions and do these adventures. I get that. But then when you go back home and live an everyday life, I don't think it's fair to be upset with him because he doesn't want to go rock climbing, because he doesn't want to go deep sea fishing, because he doesn't want to, you know, skin a deer. I don't think you should be upset that he doesn't want to do those things. He doesn't want to go out in the woods and go camping. It's okay if he doesn't want to do those things. What y'all need to do is you need to find things that y'all have in common and concentrate on that, and not be upset because he doesn't want to do all the, you know, country stuff that you enjoy doing. So Dominique says in her confessional that Mac, this is the part that really got me. This is when my feelings for Dominique kind of changed. When she said, Mac has a lot to work on and grow on, and I embody those things. It's going to take a lot of patience and support and reassuring on my part for us to successfully conquer all of these tasks. Because she was talking about why she believes that experts match them. And she says that she basically thinks that they matched them because there was a lot of things about Mac that needed fixing. And so she was a great match for him because she's going to fix all those things. And I was like, what? Girl, are you serious? You're not going to sit up here and talk into this camera and say that you were put on this earth to fix Mac. That he has a lot of problems and you're the one to fix them. Girl, please. So they go to see his house, and she was very disappointed because he lives in the basement of his friend's house. So they go see his house, and she doesn't like what she sees because nothing in that room is his. And so she can't really figure out his personality or the kind of person that he is, or figure out anything about his past because he doesn't own any of that stuff there. There are a few pictures on the wall, etc., etc. And so her issue is that he is not settled. He's moving from city to city. He's been in Nashville for a very short time. He doesn't have a place of his own. So she's kind of like wondering, where do you really plan on settling down. Like, where do you want to put your roots at? Because I'm not leaving Nashville. My roots are here and I'm not going anywhere. And you're a little bit all over the place. You lived in different states. You're like a transient, a nomad. So what's really going on? And so he says something about how he never really wanted to sign a lease because he doesn't want to be really committed to a permanent living space, I guess. I don't know. And so then she says to him, well, how can you say that you can't commit to an apartment lease because it's just too much for you, to make that type of a commitment, but you're willing to jump into being married to a stranger? I'm supposed to have confidence in you that you're going to want to stay married to me when you can't even commit to a permanent home. And he really had no answer for that. He had no explanation for that. And it's like, okay, Mac, if you don't know, then we don't know. But that's something for you to think about. And I thought that she did bring up a very, very good point. Dominique is wise beyond her years in some ways, because that was a really good point that she brought up. You can't commit to a lease, but I'm supposed to believe that you're going to commit to me and you're going to commit to life in Nashville. And he had nothing to say. Moving on to Nicole and Chris. So why is Chris crying when we see him? Why is he crying? So she goes up to him and she says, what's wrong? They're still in Jamaica. It's their last day in Jamaica. I think it's the morning that they're supposed to leave. And he's just crying out there on the patio. And it's like somebody died or something. And so Nicole asked him, no, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he says that he just found out that he cannot bring both of his dogs to their apartment because there is a 2-pet limit at their apartment complex. She has a dog and he has 2. So he doesn't know what he's going to do with his other dog. And so Nicole is trying to talk him off the ledge and say, you know what? Don't worry. Don't cry. We're going to figure it out. Okay. We're going to find a solution. And so he talks about how he can't leave either one of his dogs behind because they're so attached to him. They go through separation anxiety. And she's like, don't worry, I got this. So she ends up calling her dad, and her dad ends up agreeing to watch her dog while they're going through this experiment. And even though she herself is not that thrilled about leaving her pet behind, she's going to do this for the sake of their relationship. So she's going to give up her dog temporarily. It's not going to be like a Justin situation. She's going to give up her dog temporarily so that his 2 dogs can stay together and stay with him. And so when they get to Nashville, he tells her how much he appreciates her doing that. And he says, this is what family is really all about, stepping up to the plate for the other. And he really did appreciate it. So anyways, they're back in Nashville. They're in their new apartment and they're having a conversation on the couch and they're talking about each other's expectations. And so they've both decided that if you see anything in your partner that you don't like, you need to voice it right away. So, we can have a conversation about it. Don't let things just kind of fester. So if there's anything about the other person that really bothers you, bring it up and let's have a discussion about it. So Chris says that he doesn't like confrontations and he doesn't like fights. Okay. So that's kind of giving us a forewarning. And Nicole says, if today was decision day, would you say yes? Y'all, I wanted to throw my shoe at my television because I hate it when they talk about decision day this early on in the process. Instead of being so concerned about decision day, be living in the moment. Make these moments count, because when you get to decision day, most likely you're going to have regrets of how you could have handled things better. So just live in the moment, enjoy the moment for what it is, so you can have as few regrets as possible, instead of being so focused and trying to make your current situation, trying to tailor your current situation to fit a certain outcome on decision day. I hate it. And the fact that she brought that up, and she brought it up in the worst way, because she wasn't even trying to be like elusive or trying to like give out little hints to figure out where he's at. She just flat out said it. If today was decision day, what would you say? And it's like, what difference would he would say now? Because y'all haven't experienced anything as a couple other than the whole dog situation. Y'all haven't experienced anything as a couple to really give a meaningful answer to a question like that. So he said, well, I would say yes. And she goes, I would say yes too. And then she says, do you love me? And he was like, no, not yet, but I like you. And then she says, I don't love you, but I like you too. Something about her is like kind of manic. Like, what? What is going on? It was very bizarre. It was her behavior to me was so bizarre. You know, they're talking about, okay, this is what we're going to do as a couple. If we have problems, this is how we're going to try to resolve them. What would you say if this was decision day? And he's like, I'd say yes. Oh, good, because I'd say yes too. Do you love me? And he's like, no, not yet, but I like you. And then she's like, I don't love you, but I like you too. It was just crazy. Oh, God. Not much to say about Shaquille and Kirsten. The only thing that I thought was of significance, because they didn't show a lot of them, the only thing that I thought was of significance was when Kirsten said, when they moved into their apartment, she said that she is looking forward to living with Shaquille. So we're going to hold her to that. We're going to hold her to that. Let me go back to Nicole and Chris for a hot second. Okay, Nicole and Chris. I do believe that I really do believe with all of my heart that Nicole and Chris are going to say yes to decision day. But I think that, even though two people are really drawn to one another, it doesn't mean that they're really good for each other. And I think that they're both going to say yes on decision day. But you know what? Maybe Nicole and Chris are really made for one another. They have that same... I was going to say that same type of, anyways, maybe they are made for each other. Maybe Nicole and Chris are match made in heaven. Okay. They like to be obsessed with one another. He likes to obsess over his women, and she likes for a man to be obsessed about her. So maybe they are made for one another. Anyway, that's my little review of Married at First Sight. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. After this, I'm going to do my little recap of the after party because a lot went on there and it's just too long to include in this video here. If you like this content, go ahead and subscribe. On your way out, do not forget to rate the video, and I will most definitely talk to you later. Bye.